Welcome back to the Football Tragics. It's just me today, your host, Aaron. The others are busy. We've got 2 weeks to get through. First group of midweek games was just played. So we've got Matchday 4, Matchday 5, and I'm going to fly through them. We're going to start off with Southampton 0, Man United 1 at the weekend. Look, Southampton here, unlucky. They didn't give a penalty for a McTominay blatant handball, probably one of the worst ones we've seen. Looking at the stats, Southampton had 17 shots, 5 on target to United's 11 with 6 on target. Looking at that, you can see Southampton were up for this game. They deserve something, and they've been very hard done by. United, however, took a Bruno Fernandes goal to get the win, but they started without Ronaldo. Up top, Marcus Rashford, Ronaldo left on the bench again. Look, deadline day has just passed, so we know that he has stayed at United. What role he will play this season, I'm not too sure. He's not going to be happy coming off the bench every game, that's for sure. But they went without him for this game. They went without him for the game again this morning. But yeah, United pick up a 1-0 win. It's a big win for them because they need to start picking up results. We know they started quite badly. They started pretty average until the Liverpool result. So their season's kind of been turned around sooner rather than later, which is important for Erik ten Hag. But I feel for Southampton here. They deserve something from this game. A 1-0 loss doesn't reflect the game at all. And look, Southampton are having a decent season, and we'll get into their second game against my boys Chelsea soon. And that kind of shows that they're in for a good year with their young squad. But speaking of Chelsea, 2-1 over Leicester. We got the win at the weekend. Wasn't pretty. Went down to 10 men after Conor Gallagher saw red for his second yellow, 28th minute. That's how early we're playing with 10 men. So for 60, whatever math isn't good, 65 minutes, 70 minutes, we were playing with 10 men. But 2-0 up, we went. Raheem Sterling gets a double, his first in Chelsea colours. In the Prem, which is massive for him, gets off the mark at home as well. Harvey Barnes clawed one back towards the later end of the game, 65th minute, but we held on. Chelsea held on. It wasn't a pretty result in the slightest. We've not played good football at all this season, and it's pretty worrying because we were supposed to be one of the teams that, we've recruited well and kind of be pushing on for the title potentially. And so for us to start the season quite poor, and again, that game following up that I'll get into just shows that we have not clicked at all, and something needs to change because, I'm not saying Tuchel's getting sacked, that's for sure, but the longer it goes on with poor form, Chelsea like to move managers on. We've got new owners now though, so maybe that does change. They've put their trust in Tuchel. But a good win this one because it was much needed, especially going down to 10 men. I would have taken a draw, but 3 points it was. And another 3 points was for Brighton. 1-0 over Leeds. Just going to pull up the stats here for this game because I don't remember it too well. But there wasn't a lot of shots on target. 4 for Brighton, only 2 for Leeds. But Brighton, look, they're in 4th spot now. This win here, it's huge for them because a Leeds team that just knocked off Chelsea the previous game, going into this game pretty hot, away from home, but Brighton continuing on from last season. I've given them so much credit. I think a lot of the boys have given them credit. Graham Potter is doing an outstanding job at Brighton. I don't remember the game too well, so I can't speak on it, so I'm going to skip straight past it, but big win for Brighton there. But leads us into this massive game. Erling Haaland, 3 goals. Unbelievable. His first hat-trick, of the campaign, and he later gets another one, obviously. But yeah, 4-2. City were made to work for it, that's for sure. We know Palace at the Etihad have been their bogey team as of late, and it was looking that way yet again. John Stone's own goal early in the game, 4 minutes in. Then they went down 2-0. Joachim Anderson with another. And you're thinking, geez, Palace are going to do it again at the Etihad, of course. But that was Palace's only 2 shots, only 2 goals, only 2 on target, all game. City dominated from basically start to finish apart from those 2 goals. But they did go into the break 2-0 down, and something must have happened. Pep at halftime must have absolutely drilled the boys because they come out firing. Bernardo Silva gets one back early, 53rd minute, game on, 2-1. And then it's the Erling Haaland show. 3 goals, unbelievable to say the least. He's a freak. He scored goals for fun. And City just, they ran away with it. They clawed their way back from 2-0 down to get a 4-2 result. It's huge for them because, as I said, Palace is one of their bogey teams. So for them to pick up a big win there, they shouldn't be dropping points against Palace. Let's just say that. So Erling Haaland, unbelievable. We'll get into him again in a bit later, but let's move on to another huge win. And this one comes courtesy of Liverpool 9-0 at Anfield over Bournemouth, which actually saw the end of Scott Parker's reign as Bournemouth manager. He's been sacked. It's harsh. I mean, Bournemouth, I don't know what they could have expected from them. They picked up a win against Villa in their first game, and then they had Arsenal, City, and Liverpool. Could they expect any more than 0 points in those games? No. So for him to get the sack, it's an unusual one, but I'm hearing that it is more of a board decision in terms of disagreements, more so than result-based. Maybe they're going in a different direction to what Parker had in mind. But his payout, I'm sure, would see him get a ton of cash that he can then go and spend on more waistcoats and cardigans. So wherever he goes next, we don't know. But for now, deserved holiday, I guess. Liverpool, absolute class, though. 9-0. I mean, the haters are on their back. Jurgen Klopp, seventh season curse is upon us. But no, start to finish, cruise control. Could have been 20-0, really. They absolutely dominated Bournemouth. Luis Diaz double. Alexander-Arnold kind of shutting the haters up a little bit. Fabio Carvalho getting his first at Anfield, as well. So, I mean, this game just oozed class in Liverpool and kind of just shut the haters up. Without Darwin Núñez, I think it's important to say that Roberto Firmino still, I believe, is their number one striker. I think he complements the team better, fits the team better, knows the system. And I think Núñez has a little way to go before he can get into that squad, especially following a red card where I'm sure there was punishment from the club as well. But yeah, massive win for Liverpool. Shut the haters up, started to propel their season a little bit. But we'll stay in Merseyside. I mean, they're away, but another Merseyside team. Brentford, 1-1 with Everton. Lampard is doing it tough, that is for sure. They sit in 17th, Everton, and it just seems like they can't quite pick up a win when they need to. They've still got 0 wins on the board. They've got 2 losses from 5 games, but 3 draws. They've got no wins yet. And it just seems like they can't quite put a 90-minute performance together. They went up 1-0 courtesy of Anthony Gordon, and unfortunately for their sake, pegged back in the 84th minute. It's how long it took them. So they couldn't hold on for a win. I don't know what to say. I love Lampard, wanting to do well, but I don't know what's going on at Everton. They've signed pretty decent in the window. They've got another striker, Neil Maupay, with Calvert-Lewin out. They've signed a couple midfielders and a back. They need to start winning games because Lampard, his tenure could well and truly be up if that's not the case. Anthony Gordon, however, ever since the Chelsea links, I believe he's scored 30% of his goals since then. He scored again in the midweek fixture. So who knows? Maybe he is fighting for a move to a Champions League squad. I don't think he was going to play at Chelsea. Don't think he deserved the price tag of 60 mil, but who knows? Anthony Gordon, he's coming good and maybe he's got his shooting boots on. But that's a game I'm going to kind of skim over a little bit. There's not too much to say there. One there is a bit to talk about, though, is Arsenal's 2-1 over Fulham. Now, Arsenal sitting top of the table with a 5 from 5. At this point, we're 4 from 4. But this was probably one of their more challenging games. They've had an easy run to start, so I'm not going to give them so much credit that a lot of people are. They're playing good football, though. That's for sure. Gabriel Jesus up top, doing well. Martin Odegaard is their captain, and he's leading from the front. And then, of course, we've got William Saliba and players like that who are, just fighting for their spot, proving themselves, who were shunned out for how many years on loan. But this game was by far their trickiest. Fulham went up 1-0 courtesy of a Gabriel blunder, basically giving the ball to Mitrovic, who finished it superbly. He continues his goal-scoring form. He's been unbelievable to start the season. But from then on in, Arsenal kind of took control of the game. They asserted themselves. but it did take until the 86th minute from Gabriel to go from 0 to hero and win the game for the Gunners. At the Emirates, it's a big win for them. I've said that a lot already this episode, but Fulham, they're not too bad. They're looking all right. They're sitting in 8th spot. They'll be more than happy with that. However, Arsenal, they're sitting in 1st spot, 5 from 5, as I said. We'll get into their 5th game in a bit, but they're looking the goods. And credit to them, because we know how they started last season. It wasn't good. But let's get into one team, that is struggling, and another team that is, I'd say, doing very well. Wolves, they're struggling. They're just like Everton. They can't seem to get that win. 1-1 here with Newcastle. They've got 0 wins on the board. Basically got the same as, actually they've got an identical record to Everton, and then another team that just can't seem to put it together for 90. They were very unlucky in this game. It was a masterclass performance and goal by Maximum, to rescue a point for Newcastle. 90th minute, basically the last kick of the game. So Wolves almost had it there. Ruben Neves, phenomenal strike. He only scores worldies, that's for sure. But yeah, just can't seem to get that 90-minute performance together and hold on for a win. They're in all sorts this season. We don't know how long Bruno Lage is going to last there, because if they don't start to keep picking up wins, again, could be like Scott Parker. I think Wolves are underachieving this year. They should be a top 10 side. And so for them to sit in 17th now, I believe, it's not pretty sight for them, that's for sure. Let's move on to another team who is struggling. Well, 2 teams who are struggling actually at the time of this game, but it's Villa's loss to West Ham at home. Stevie G, he picks up a win against another struggling team in Everton and Frank Lampard, and then goes to at home to West Ham, who at the time were below them on the ladder. Should pick up a result, should do better. But no, Stevie G, I think, could have been the first manager sacked if it wasn't for Scott Parker. I think he is biding his time very, very carefully, because it won't be long before he's at the door if things don't change. They've got 1 win, 4 losses. They're sitting on 3 points. They're sitting in 19th spot, only above Leicester. They're not looking good at all. They're not playing great football. Doesn't help that Diego Carlos got basically a season-long injury right in the first or second game, who was their record signing or their big signing for the season. But still, they've got to do better. They've just signed Jean Bednarek to replace him for the season on loan from Southampton. So hopefully that shows a turn of their season. But they are not looking good to start the season. And as I said, before too long, if it doesn't pick up, results don't change, Stevie G will be out the door. Now, West Ham, however, good win for them. They needed it. Just like Aston Villa are struggling. They were sitting below them at the time of this game, have now shot up into 14th spot. So maybe a change of fortune for David Moyes, because, again, I think a pretty underwhelming start to the season from him. But nevertheless, a good win here away at Villa Park. Another big win away, a good win. Spurs 2-0 over Forest. Again, made to work for it, but got there in the end. Harry Kane had a penalty saved by Dean Henderson, who is turning out to be the pen save specialist. He's only conceded 1 out of the 5 that he's faced in the Premier League. But, yeah, they were made to work from. This was the final game, one of the final games, of the round. But, yeah, made to work for it completely. Harry Kane, though, at the double. Forest made it hard for him, but in the end were too good, I suppose. And yeah, they did the job. They did the job, Spurs. And it kind of pushes them back up the ladder, because they're doing okay this season under Conte. But let's move into match week 5 now. So that was, smash those out real quick. Palace 1-1 with Brentford. Just like the other teams, I think Palace are one of those teams that can't quite put that 90-minute performance together. They can't quite seem to win it, to close the game out, to win the game. Look, they're not doing too badly. They're in 13th. They're in 5 points from 5 games. It's not the greatest, not the worst. Wilfred Zaha on fire, opens the scoring. He's been phenomenal this season, probably his best yet in a Palace jersey. And I think he would have liked to move away. He would have liked to move to maybe a team fighting for a European spot, or with European football to offer, but he's staying put, and he's got goals in him. He's already scored 4 or 5 this season, so he's hot. He wants to start well. He has started well, but again, an 88th minute equaliser from Brentford rescues a point for them, for the Bees. But yeah, they're sitting 11th, Brentford, Palace in 13th. It's not too bad for either team. I think Brentford, they could suffer from that second season syndrome if they're not careful, just like Sheffield. So I think if they can cruise around the middle of the table, they'll be looking okay for now. Fulham, however, they bounced back from a defeat at Arsenal for a win here at home to Brighton, a Brighton team who were sitting in 4th spot and still are sitting in 4th spot. So massive win for Fulham. Mitrovic again scoring, being that leader for them. Fulham, I mean, they're having a great season. They've signed well. They've just picked up a couple more players. They've picked up Willian. They've picked up Dan James on loan from Leeds. They're in 8th spot. They're on 8 points from 5 games. I think before the season, if you're a Fulham fan, you take that every day of the week. I don't think you could have expected to be that high up this early in the season or at all. So kudos to Fulham, and they're doing it well. They're doing it very well. Brighton, however, it's not a great result. I think going into this game, they would have thought, yep, that's 3 points we can take, potentially even a point at worst. But they're still sitting in 4th. They're 5 points off top of the table. I mean, they're just continuing on from last season with Graham Potter at the helm, just building very, very nicely. And now we move into Chelsea, who shocking performance at Southampton. Shocking performance. And again, sums up our season so far. Underwhelming, lackluster, and just no real effort shown. We went up 1-0, courtesy of Sterling. Bagged his 3rd goal in 2 games. He's looking hot at Chelsea. I think it's a good move, good signing. However, the rest of the team just didn't care to play. Very underwhelming from start to finish. Kai Havertz doing nothing. Mason Mount doing nothing. Southampton looked on for this game. They went down 1-0 and then bam, flicked a switch and just absolutely dominated Chelsea. Deserved all 3 points. Could have probably had a couple more. So kudos to Southampton, because again, they've been underwhelming couple seasons. Last year they started well, but then fell off and probably were lucky they weren't relegated if it wasn't for a couple extra games. But they've gone to this season. They're sitting in 9th spot now, 7 points from 5 games. Looking the goods. They've got a young squad. They've listed the 3 youngest squads in the Prem this season. And it just shows they're building for the future. They're trusting Ralph Hasenhüttl, who a lot were calling for his head already. But yeah, they're into 9th spot. They're flying, I'd say, in their terms, and already have knocked off Chelsea. Should have got something from United the weekend prior. So it's all looking good at the St Mary's Stadium, and kudos to them and deserve this win massively. Chelsea, though, need to flick a switch, because if it doesn't happen soon, Tuchel could be out the door or our season could be thrown away. We're sitting in 10th. It's not end of the world stuff from 5 games, but we're now already 8 points back from top of the table, not far off Champions League football, obviously in 4th, just 3 points, but still, it's just starting to get away, and we need to be careful it doesn't get too far away before too late. Again, Everton 1-1 with Leeds, another draw for them. Did they go up in this game? They did again. Anthony Gordon, again, scoring goals since that Chelsea link. But again, they can't hold out. 55th minute, Leeds equalised, and that's the way it finished 1-1. I said it before, say it again. Everton can't grind out a win. I think just the pressure gets too much for them, and once they go up 1-0, they just can't seem to grind out the result. So they sit on 3 points from 5 games, 3 draws, no wins so far. Not looking good. Lampard, I think, could start to be getting some question marks over him if he hasn't already, if he doesn't fix it soon. Leeds, however, sits him in 7th spot after 5 games. And again, looking good. Just like Fulham, want to kind of be around there and maintain that form, because it can get tricky towards the end of the season. So if they can pick up the early points, then they'll be staying up, that's for sure. A team that's probably not going to stay up, though, Bournemouth. We know it's not happening. 0-0 draw with Wolves. It's not the worst result, but at home, these are the teams that you need to be knocking off, especially in the form they're in. Wolves are arguably in one of the worst forms of the league. And Bournemouth team need to be looking at this game, approaching and thinking that's 3 points that we can get at home, and they couldn't do it. Just the one win from 5. Look, they're doing better than a couple other teams, but just sacked their manager for unknown reasons. And again, a result here they could have gone into and probably hoped to get 3 points, but 1 point apiece for them. It leaves Wolves in hot water again, sitting in 18th spot. They have yet to register a win, like Everton and Leicester, I believe, are the only 2 teams that haven't. 3 teams that haven't. So Bruno Lage could have a job hanging over his head if he's not careful, because they need to fix it up. They need to be fighting for a top 10 finish, in my opinion. So they need to turn it around. Let's move into the Erling Haaland show yet again. 6-0 Man City trounced Nottingham Forest. I think it was expected, but Erling Haaland just proving yet again he is an absolute freak and a goal machine. Back-to-back hat-tricks. He can't stop scoring. He's got 9 in his first 5 games. Unbelievable. Salah has the record of 32 goals for a season. I think Haaland gets 40. Why can't he get 40 this season? That's for sure. Look, they're sitting in second spot now, Man City, 13 points from 5 games, just 2 behind Arsenal. They've started very well. And with Erling Haaland there, who knows what they can achieve. Dominated from start to finish. I think it was only ever going to be one result here. Am I surprised by a 6-0? No, not really. Not with Erling Haaland on top. And that was without De Bruyne starting. They brought De Bruyne on for Haaland. So he scored a hat-trick before he was even there to assist him. Nottingham Forest, however, 4 points, from 5 games. It's not too bad. They're sitting at 15th. They've got more points than teams below them. That's kind of what they need to take from this. They've signed like a record 21 players this off-season. In this transfer window, which is just absolutely ridiculous. I don't think that you need to sign that many. Do they even have a core anymore? Who brought them up from the championship? I don't know. 21 players. I think they're just panic buying. First time back in the Prem in a long, long time. Hoping to stay there. Can they stay there? I tipped them pre-season to stay up, but I don't know. They could be on a slippery slope. They won, I think, their first game of the season, and then since then have kind of been like Bournemouth and just struggle for results a little bit. But they were never going to get anything from this game, I don't think. But we'll see. We'll see how Forest kick on throughout the season. But City oozes class. They showed their class here. Another team that showed their class yet again, Arsenal, 2-1, keeps them on top of the table. Villa made them work for it this time. Probably another tricky game for them. Scored from a corner, directly from the corner. Douglas Luiz, he's been practicing in training. He scored in the cup, doing the same thing midweek. He scores again. This, in my opinion, was the most blatant foul on Aaron Ramsdale. Don't know how it wasn't given. And Arsenal trailed 1-0 to Villa at home. But they kick-started their game after that and went in and scored a double, 2-1 over Villa. Gabriel Jesus, Gabriel Martinelli, 2 of the Gabriels getting on the score sheet. And they're sitting pretty. 5 games played, 5 wins on top of the table. Credit to Arsenal. However, they have yet to play a big team. Most of these teams they've played are bottom 10 teams. They have Man United on the weekend. That is their first big test. Do I think they see off Man United? Probably not now. Maybe a couple of weeks ago I would have said yes, but at Old Trafford, United have kind of flicked a switch. They're on fire right now. I mean, they're getting wins they need to get right now under Erik ten Hag. They've had a decent window. They've just signed Anthony from Ajax. So that'll be their first test, Arsenal. If they can overcome that game, then I'll give them some credit. I'll believe they can be fighting, not for the title, but for top 4. Until then, though, I need to see more of them. Spurs, from North London as well, 1-1 in the London derby against West Ham. A good result for West Ham. Better result for West Ham than it is for Spurs. Spurs, they went up 1-0, courtesy of a Cahill own goal. But after that, he played phenomenal, that young centre-back. Thomas Soucek got on the score sheet, 1-1. It finished. Probably a fair result in the way the things went this game, the way they panned out. But again, West Ham, they need to pick up more points. They're not doing great. They're not doing horrible. I think that win over Villa kind of helped them. But Spurs, look, they're not doing bad either as well. they're on 11 points from 5. Undefeated, should have lost against Chelsea, of course. We know that. I'm not going to shy away from that. But they're in third spot. They've started well this season, and Conte means business. I think they're a team that, again, I don't think can challenge for the title, but are certainly top 4 prospects. And you start the season well, it just pushes you on. Whereas Chelsea, I think, have started pretty bad. We've got a lot of ground now to make up. So I think Tottenham probably would have liked more from this game, but a 1-1 draw at your London rivals, it's not the worst result in the world. Now you move into a game, second last game of the round, and it took into the 97th minute, I believe, for Liverpool to rescue the win. Carvalho again scoring for the second week in a row, 2-1. They went behind. Alexander Isak on debut scored for Newcastle. Great goal. Put them up 1-0 against Liverpool at Anfield, and I thought, brilliant, they're going to get the win now. But no, Roberto Firmino again rescues to get them back level, and then Carvalho with that winner in 98th minute of 95 minutes at a time. I'm not going to get into that too much, why there was more played. I believe Newcastle wasted time pretty much all game. So we can probably see why the time's been added on there. But I think, again, Firmino just showed that when Nunes is out, he deserves the game time and he's scoring goals. You can't then go and bench him for Nunes when he's back because he's scoring goals. I think it just shows why he is their best attacker right now, and he just fits the system well. So a big win for Liverpool. Their season is back on track. They're sitting in 6th spot, 8 points from 5 games, and their season is ready to go now. And let's move into this final game. It's been a quick one. I know 26 minutes for 2 rounds of football. Crazy. But look, it's just me. So none of the other boys' opinions are here. Leicester. Brendan Rodgers needs to be sacked. He's not been backed in the window. I think they signed a replacement for Fana on deadline day, 15 million from Rems in League One. League 1, sorry. But they're sitting bottom of the table. They've got 1 point from 5 games, and surely it can't be long until Brendan Rodgers is sacked. No wins. Man United, however, back on track. Season turned around. Started bad, but now the hot. 3 wins on the trot. Yep, 3 wins on the trot. Just looking at the screen there. Jadon Sancho scoring the goal here to give them the 1-0 win. But yeah, Man United turn around. Man United have Arsenal at the weekend. That's the big one for me. Both teams' biggest game so far. Actually, no, sorry. United played Liverpool. Big game for them. They won that. But yeah, that's make or break for Arsenal season. I think it just shows, are they real challengers for this season, or are they kind of pretenders sitting on top? But yeah, that's the rounds covered. I don't have too much to add. Can't really get the other boys' opinion, so it's hard to kind of gauge where they're at with everything. But next week we'll be back. Hopefully we'll have at least 3 of us, if not all 4 of us, on the pod. So until then, peace.